Sentinel in Chicago and the Vancouver Sun and all sorts of things. He's a veteran of the business and one of the best people to show us where we're going. John Cruickshank.
Good morning. All right, the entertainment portion is over. Here we are. We're on to the business part of the program for today. But thank you for the introduction, David, and welcome everybody to Toronto. My news organization has published this city's best-read newspaper for more than a century. And the steps we've taken over the past decade to improve the content, the digital skills, and our printing and our distribution capabilities will guarantee, we believe, that we'll remain the top news choice for Torontonians on all platforms, including print, for the century to come. The theme of this year's Forum Day is Press Fighting Back. I think it's a fabulous title, fabulous topic, because despite all the doom and gloom you've been reading and hearing about print for many, many years, you know, all that death of newspapers stuff, newspapers and other print publications are indeed fighting back for readers, for advertisers, and for market share. And there's no doubt that we are in a tough battle. There are new disruptors coming at us every day. But we've heard enough about the combat and the carnage. That, at this point, is old news. Instead, I want to tell you about some exciting print-based initiatives we've launched in the last couple of years that are having a dramatic impact on our business and are helping to ensure the long-term future of our companies. Importantly, I believe that these are the kinds of initiatives that can help your companies or those of your clients and your customers grow new revenues, in some cases substantially. And they can help you escape from that single-minded focus on cost-cutting that is ultimately debilitating if it's not accompanied by actions for growth. First, I want to talk to you about our Optin print products, which are now generating millions of dollars in new revenues for us. Secondly, I'll tell you about our Metro newspaper chain, which is giving us a rapidly expanding audience and new revenue across all of this country. And third, I want to talk about the dramatic changes that we've introduced at our main printing plant that has turned that facility around from being a high-cost operation to one that is as competitive and efficient as any in the area. But before I do that, I'll quickly explain what Star Media Group is, and to give you an overview of the state of the Canadian newspaper industry right now. By the way, you know, Dave has referred to the moves that Fairfax is making. We have in our country a company called Jessica, which operates La Presse in Montreal and dozens of other newspapers, French-language newspapers. And frankly, they're on precisely the same course and on a timetable at least that rapid. People talk about that as being transformative, as being an acceleration of transition. I think it's abandoning a platform that's been tremendously successful for us over a very long period and not taking advantage of the opportunities we have in a multi-platform world. But I'll come back to that. Star Media Group, my group, is a division of Torstar Corporation, one of Canada's largest media companies. Torstar owns and operates Harlequin Enterprises, the world-leading publisher of women's fiction, and Metroland Media Group is a publisher of more than 100 community and daily newspapers in Ontario and the largest community newspaper publisher in Canada. We also have dozens of digital operations. Star Media Group is led by our flagship, the Toronto Star, of which I'm publisher, and it is Canada's largest daily newspaper. This group also includes Metro, our chain of free weekday newspapers published in 10 cities across Canada, and numerous digital properties and specialty print publications ranging from fashion to autos. Combined, the Star and Media print and online products reach more than 5 million Canadians. The country's newspapers, indeed all news media in Canada, are facing huge challenges. Print advertising revenues are falling, with digital disruptions continuing to transform how people receive and consume news and advertising. And rates for display ads on our digital news platforms are also under tremendous pressure. Faced with these realities, every newspaper in Canada has taken major steps in recent years to deal with the new reality. The Star is no exception. For example, last year, we formed a joint venture with the Globe and Mail, our principal newspaper competitor, to bring together our distribution operations. This initiative, known as Delivery Inc., will save us millions of dollars in newspaper distribution costs every year. And this partnership will also distribute other newspapers and third-party publications. In addition, we recently introduced a metering system for our digital content, which is so far exceeding our expectations in attracting new subscribers to digital and driving subscribers back to print. Like other papers and broadcast outlets, we've outsourced some of our circulation, advertising, and page editing functions and cut our overall staff levels very dramatically. But we've been careful to focus our restructuring on holding on to the eager, multilingual, multi-talented kids who look just like this city and who we have attracted to our newsroom over the last half-dozen years. Many newsrooms, sadly, across North America and Europe, have lost both their memories and their legs to downsizing. We've been investing in the future, actually increasing our reporting capacity while we've cut back in less critical areas. It's been tough, but today we see ourselves as a media organization that has reinvented itself and continues to provide readers and advertisers with the quality products that meet their needs. But that brings me to the three initiatives that I mentioned. First, the Optin Products, our metro expansion, and the big changes in our printing operation. As I said earlier, I believe all three are practical examples of how newspapers can adopt new products, new strategies, and new thinking that will lead to bottom-line improvements and better overall quality at the same time. So first, the Optin Products. These are print publications separate from the daily newspapers that readers can, for a small weekly price, choose to purchase and have delivered to their homes as part of their Toronto Star delivery. It's kind of like the cable model. You remember when you paid about $8 a month for basic cable, and now you pay $88 a month with all the add-ons? Well, the newspaper is our basic cable. The opt-ins are our add-ons. It started with our TV book, Star Week. To save costs, we had thinned this thing down so much you could practically see through it when you held it up to the light. And yet, we were still losing money. Common wisdom was that nobody wanted a print TV book in a digital world. Clearly, all the advertisers felt that way because they disappeared from our book. But before killing it, we made the decision that we just do a little research to determine absolutely what our readers wanted. And the results were just fascinating. 60% of the readers threw the Star Week into the recycling bin as soon as it got to them with our Saturday paper. Right? They were completely uninterested in it. 40% used it. And what's more, they were mad at us for taking so much content out of it. So we thought about this a little while and decided that we could offer them an enhanced Star Week as an opt-in product and charge them 50 cents for it. We figured with the savings we'd get in not printing and delivering the TV book for most of the readers who were just binning it, we'd only need about a 12% purchase rate to break even. And break even would be fabulous compared to where we've been with the TV book over the preceding years. Well, after 6 weeks, we had a 20% purchase rate. Today, we're at 39%. We're just selling just shy of 250,000 magazines a week at 50 cents a piece. And we've recently, well, was 50 cents a piece, we've recently pushed the price to 75 cents a week, and we've had no customer resistance. When the New York Times offered our editors an enhanced editorial package at a modest price a couple of years ago, our editors turned it down out of cost consideration. But it got my circulation vice president, Sandy McLeod, and I thinking, what if we offered Sunday subscribers to the Toronto Star a chance to opt in to a rich package of New York Times materials? Well, we told the Times we wanted to sell a mini version of their Sunday package for $1. The Times were already selling its enhanced editorial in more than 40 countries, and nobody had ever put this position to them before. Nevertheless, they agreed. They showed tremendous flexibility and initiative, and now they share in a great new revenue stream as 80,000 star customers opt into a 16-page New York Times main section wrapped around a 12-page book section for $1 every week. This is about 25 times their circulation with the big Sunday paper in Toronto. They're delighted by it. Last November, we launched a weekly 40-page puzzle magazine at $1.49 a week, our third subscriber opt-in product in the past 3 years. It was profitable in the first week. We think it will eventually find a market of about 50,000 customers a week. So if you do the math, you can see the returns can be significant. You have enough information here, I think, to begin to run rough estimates on what you can do in your market. It might not be TV listings or a puzzle book, but are things your readers would be willing to pay for in addition to the daily newspaper. Now, here are a few thoughts about entering the opt-in world, because we've managed to make a number of mistakes on our way, but also found some solutions. First, do your research. You must understand your readers' expectations, both on the products they might pay for and the content of those products. Second, don't overserve your audience. It's easy to fall into the trap of taking new products to your entire market, but don't. We would lose money on some of these products if we had to incur the production costs of sending them to people who won't pay for them, much less read them. Third, you've got to get your pricing right at the outset.
In hindsight, I think we priced Star Week, the TV listings book, too low. We felt because it had been free for years, we'd be lucky to charge 50 cents.
But as I said, we're now at 75 cents, and almost everyone who opted in at the lower price is still with us. Fourth, make the opt-in process super easy. We developed an online process. Just requires a phone number and a couple of clicks, and you're in. Fifth, sample all your subscribers. We had a free trial to all subscribers for 6 weeks with Star Week, the New York Times product, and the puzzle book. You need to give readers time to like the product. Finally, keep sales costs low. You have to make these products as simple to execute as possible. Low content charges, low production costs, cheap delivery. For instance, we print the New York Times product at the end of a daily run at no incremental cost when we have press crews already in place. Seventh, invest upfront in marketing. There's a one-time cost to acquiring new opt-in commitments, but frankly, you're buying an annuity. Let me now talk for a few minutes about Metro and our expansion of the franchise across Canada. We first became partners more than a decade ago with Metro when the Swedish-based international company launched its first free daily newspaper in Canada right here in Toronto. Well, we liked the newspaper a lot. We saw its potential, and we enthusiastically pushed national expansion. 2 years ago, in 2011, we increased our interest in the English-language Metro operation to 90%, taking effective control of the chain. Today, we've grown Metro to become the country's best-read weekday newspaper. We have editions in Halifax, Ottawa, Toronto, London, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Regina, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. Currently, our Metro papers reach more than 1.4 million readers daily and 2.9 million over the course of a week. Last year, we also launched digital-only editions in 4 other cities, and it means Metro is now available in 15 of the top 17 census metropolitan areas in Canada. Not only do we have the country's major paid newspaper in Toronto, we have developed an expanding national presence at a time when many other newspaper organizations are retrenching. Now we're combining the marketing, research, and advertising teams for the Star and Metro, which is helping us save some money and compete more effectively with other print and non-print operations, both in Toronto, the country's major market, and elsewhere nationally. The Star-Metro combination gives us the ability to offer our advertisers a wide and expanding array of options to reach local and national audiences in print and digital, and help distribute their messages and products across the whole of the country. Our aggressive acquisition of Metro and its rapid expansion across the country has been a big winner for us. Despite challenging economic times, our franchises are growing in every one of the cities in which we operate. It's a remarkable success story when you stop and think about all the negatives we hear about our industry. The third area I want to discuss with you is the amazing turnaround we've accomplished with the cooperation of our unions at our main printing facility located in the northern suburbs of Toronto. The plant was state-of-the-art facility when it opened in the early 1990s, 6 huge press lines. It was designed to print not only the Star, but to take on many outside commercial printing contracts. But in recent years, the plant had become very expensive to operate. It was no longer competitive. Our cost per copy were very high and rising, because when wage rates went skyrocketing, when times were very good for the newspaper industry. In 2009, the plant was at a crossroads. Its future really was at risk. We had lower cost alternatives for our main papers. So we looked at it and felt we could either maintain the status quo there as the work declined and see that plant close, or we could build a sustainable business and become printers of choice in our region. Well, we chose to thrive. We started by telling the staff and the unions that we had huge cost problems. We were very, very blunt. If we did nothing, we'd soon have to close the plant and outsource all of the jobs. The alternative was to find a new vision for sustainability and growth. Our journey back to viability started with proposing a new living agreement with our press unions, the Teamsters. It took months to negotiate and months more to communicate its very radical intentions. The company allocated millions of dollars in capital to buy out veteran staff in exchange for lower wage rates on positions and lower manning levels on all activities. In one example, we'd been paying $37 an hour in the mailroom for low-skilled jobs. Under the new agreement, those wages start at $13.50 an hour. Overtime was sharply reduced. Most premium rates for night and weekend work were eliminated, and a 4-year freeze was placed on new wage increases. For the employees, it meant the future of the plant was secure and their jobs were safe, or they had other alternatives. For the union, it meant viability and the promise of bigger numbers in the future. We now have much more flexibility in scheduling, and by getting more flexibility, we're actually getting more work done in the periods that we need it most. All of this allowed us to put more work into the building. All employees stepped down to a new lower rate or accepted a buyout. More than 200 took that buyout. We also downsized the management structure by 1/3. The plant now has about 330 workers. But the numbers are rising again as we bring in new work. And we can do that because overall we took the labor costs down by 38%. And we managed to do all of this without any disruption in performance. Because we worked hand in hand with our union, we were all determined to make it work. We've also changed the culture of how we work. We've created a performance-based operating management system. It means everyone from the senior management to the most recent hires know exactly what's expected of them and their teams. They're provided with timely information and feedback about where they and their team stand, and they're encouraged to think as much about improvement as they do about the product of the day. For our new employees, we hire for attitude and train for skills on the job, and we provide opportunity for advancement. All of this has been a huge departure from the past, but it's been a smashing success. It's made us more competitive. So we've been able to take on more and more new commercial work that had drifted away over the years. Torstar has a network of 9 printing plants across southern Ontario, and we're now consolidating some of them and bringing more of that work to our main plant. And we're not 100% of the way there. We don't say mission accomplished. We just think that's a dodgy thing to do, and we probably never will. There's still a lot of work to be done. But we fixed the basic cost structure, and we're in the phase now of improving our printing and distribution efficiencies. We have one phase left to go, which is improved integration of all 9 plants across the whole of the province. Overall, this is a big success story, one of which management and the unions are equally proud. We've saved the plant. We've saved hundreds of jobs, and we're growing. It's the key in this world of shrinking newspapers. In wrapping up, I want to leave you with a point to ponder. Charles Darwin once said, "It isn't the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent. Rather, it's the one that's most adaptable to change. For newspapers and our distribution partners, the choice is exactly the same. We must adapt. We must be brave. We must be visionary to be relevant. It's up to us. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a few minutes if anybody has questions for John. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. If anybody sees me on my cell phone, it's not because I'm playing Candy Crush. I'm tweeting these wonderful thoughts. Hire for attitude, train for skill. And I hope that you will do some tweeting as well today. I actually do have a question. I called you back with a specific question in mind, which is, what kind of time frame would you allow to make this transition or to add the opt-in element to your print?
But with the opt-in, we've now kind of gotten down to a science. We actually have a program because the New York Times supplement, for example, we've now rolled out to the sister papers, a few daily papers that we have in the Metroland group in southwestern Ontario. And it actually is really, you can get up and rolling and begin to sign people up within a 12-week period and really only a 6-week period of investment in marketing. So this can be implemented very, very rapidly. As I say, we started about 3 years ago in a negative position in the TV book, and we're now well over $10 million in new revenues, a completely new revenue stream. And we only stopped at 3 last year with the puzzle book because we ran into the technical capacities of our distribution software. We've now done some renovation on that software, and we're ready to go with more products. The cable guys have proven to us that there's an awful lot you can sell out there. Think about that. I mean, they literally took their revenues about 10 times up on a monthly basis. If we achieve just a fraction of that on a weekly basis, all of us, we'll do very well.
David, you were first.
Yes, I'd like to know, with the expansion of your Metro free paper,
Yes.
have you seen cannibalization on your paid circulation newspapers?
Yes, certainly. The Metro was coming into our market, whether we wanted it or not. We owned and continue to own the big paid daily newspaper in Toronto. We were going to take those hits, and we did. But the consequences were almost exclusively in single copy. And as it turned out, as I suspect a lot of other people are recognizing, single copy is disappearing anyway. We are simply no longer getting a bump with any kind of news event on single copy, all our websites or our mobile. So it's a sacrifice we were willing to make. The good news for us is that in 9 other centers across the country, we're competing with other people, with other Metro papers. And interestingly, what's happened in Toronto, where there are 2 free papers and 4 paid daily papers, the overall readership during this last decade or so has grown. So we've grown the market. There have been significant declines in that single copy readership that paid newspapers had. Free papers have taken it and grown it further. So we think there have been some real social benefits to our community with the free papers as well as the business benefits that we've had.
John, I want to ask about hybrid subscriptions and seeing the success that New York Times had, growing print, but doing it with digital subscriptions. I wonder where you were with Toronto Star with that.
We're in a very early phase. We launched in August, But we certainly learned a lot from the New York Times, and happily without the tremendous expense that they went to on the behalf of all of us in the business, and good for them. The big lesson we learned is to adjust the costing so that there is a positive incentive for people to buy a joint print and digital subscription. So and for us, as their focus was on growing Sunday, ours is growing Saturday. This being Canada, it's the way it's worked out. So we've significantly grown our Saturday readership and subscriptions through this metering system that we put in place. It's early days, but we feel very good about the progress we've made. Sir? Morning.
Morning. So you made reference to merging your distribution operation with your main competitor. And I appreciate if you can't disclose too much, but were there major challenges around that? And if you could share some of them?
Actually, it turned out the major challenge was convincing our competitor to do this. I'd already done this in Chicago when I was the publisher of the Chicago Sun-Times, and we created that relationship with the Chicago Tribune. So I'd seen it work. It actually was there was a tremendous amount of IT work that needed to be done to integrate the routes. But frankly, nothing of that sort is insurmountable. And what we found with the Globe and Mail is it's just created greater density, greater penetration, and in many cases, we had two people going to the same door. So we've dramatically reduced costs. No, the technical challenges were not overwhelming, and just to ease this thing and to go in the direction that I want to do anyway, we created a third-party company that we jointly own. At some point, I'd like to sell it to somebody. To be honest, I'm quite happy just to move the whole thing out and let an entrepreneur in there to really drive it. But it's going extremely well, and the savings are very considerable, as you can imagine, because we are literally cutting the work in something close to half in many cases. And we're now talking to the other daily newspapers in town. They have an appetite for it, and we're now getting this has allowed us to reduce our costs to the point that we're beginning to be attractive to magazines and to others.
So for you entrepreneurs and captains of industry, we've got a great opportunity here. We might have time for one more question.
Thank you. Peter Slaughter from the Financial Times in London. Have any of your initiatives actually shown increased readership amongst the under 30 age group?
Yeah, Peter, great question. A couple of them have been very successful in that regard. Metro, certainly. Metro does very well. Metro is largely it started as an underground play here in what we call the subway in Toronto. But we're not tied to the subway or transit system in all of the sites we work in. The average age of Metro readers is significantly below the average age of paid daily newspaper readers. So it's got pretty nice penetration. We also rolled out a couple of years ago a city newspaper. There's a huge building boom going on in Toronto right now in condos. We're kind of #2 condo market in North America. So massive boom. And frankly, we're getting the development of a really interesting sort of 25 to 40-year-old hipster crowd, fascinating groups. So we rolled out a publication called The Grid, which is the last 2 years in a row been judged one of the best designed newspapers in the world. It's fabulous, really, really interesting content. And it's got a great readership in that market. So, yeah, we feel very good about that. There is another product that we don't do as an add-in, but we do distribute as in part of our print run, and we distribute in 6 or 7 other cities across Canada, all the A and B markets across Canada, called the Kit, which we started as a or we bought as it had just started as a digital magazine, and we reverse published into print, and it has a pretty nice younger demographic as well. So we're thinking very hard about how we get at those younger folks, because we have enough of the Zoomer population. We don't have to worry about covering them off.
Well, thank you so much, John.
Pleasure.
What a treat this has been for all of us.